Hi everyone, how are you? It's great to meet you. I'm having right now different kinds of topics between career and educational counseling and teaching styles. I would be more than happy if you can visit my channel and look at the different podcasts that I have. I also have different things that I shared on my profile pages that I have on my social communication channels, and these you can see it on my on my YouTube profile, which has all the links, including a link of my audio podcast, which I would be more than happy if you can watch it. Okay, so sorry, not if you can watch it, if you can hear it because it's audio. Okay, great. For today, I'm gonna start to maybe from on and off. When I have time, I will for sure talk about different topics that I have experience in, and I'll be more than happy for people who are interested to talk about different topics if you're interested in teaching Arabic for foreigners, as well as teaching in general. I have over 27 years of experience in teaching, and I would be more than happy to share it with you, and as well as I would be more than happy to, if you have any questions, if you have, anything that has to do with what I talked about before, career, anything else, please contact me. Please comment here, whatever, just, send me the message in whatever way. And I'll be more than happy to contact you back. I have my email, so you can contact me. So this is a start of a new series that I will do. You will find that I have a podcast for content creation, which is very important for you to look at if you are interested. For me, or we can talk about kind of a workshop, kind of training for teachers for the different subjects or the different things I will talk about right now or in the future. So please do, for sure. I have this video included in my podcast for content creation, which I would like you to visit. I have future topics which I will do for sure. And I did teach before. I have extensive experience and background, and I believe that everyone would be highly interested in these topics who are who are watching or are interested in such topics. Okay, these topics are actually very, very important if you are in that field, in the sense of whatever reason, whatever reason you are, your teacher, your counselor, your student, you're interested, whatever. Okay, anyways, for you to watch this, and because it's an educational platform, and I'm highly interested for people to share these different videos for people who are interested, as well as to make sure that other people who are interested and would like to know about the YouTube channel, to subscribe, to contact me. Right now, I have more free time than before. And I believe that I would like to develop my YouTube channel on my part. On your part, I believe you have other objectives that I would love for you to help out, or hopefully you can achieve, or whatever you want. Okay, basically, you'll find I have here different podcasts, and one of them is a career library, and I believe that you would like it a lot because it does have different career topics and important topics that I believe you would like to know, or for whatever reason you would like to see. Okay, so in this sense, what I want to start with is in the podcast of content creation. Um, I will post hopefully in the future different topics that I will do content work for different purposes, multi purposes basically. I would like you to contact me if you are interested. And this is one. Today I'm going to talk about teaching Arabic as a foreign language. If you are a student, if you are a teacher, if you are native, or if you are a foreigner. Basically, what I want you to know is that this is a very important topic. It's a topic I will hopefully in the near future do content on. And I want you to contact me if you are interested in this content and basically the difference between modern standard Arabic and dialect. And why is it important to know the difference, first of all? If you're a foreigner, if you're native, obviously you know, but it's important for you to know this material for whatever reason you're interested in teaching or other ones. Okay. The second one is if you are if you have a kind of objective to know more about this topic, okay, I would like you to contact me. I have a lot of links. I have actually I do workshops and training in teaching Arabic foreigners. I've been teaching it for many years right now. It's one of my specialties, so I would like you to contact me. Okay. If you want to learn and be my new student, I'd be more than happy. I teach in location in Cairo and online on Zoom. So please do contact me. I would be more than happy for you to contact me. Okay, if you are a teacher and you want to do a kind, you have questions, you want to do a kind of nice, we can talk online. I can answer your questions. We can contact each other. You have certain questions, you want a workshop, you want training, whatever, for you, for a group of people, for your school, I would be more than happy to share with you. As well as you want your own content on this topic, I would be more than happy to do so. I will have my own content on this topic if you are interested to look at it. We'll talk. Okay, basically. So basically, I will do content soon on this topic and related topics to teaching Arabic as foreign language, especially between modern standard Arabic and the dialect. The modern standard Arabic is one of the most important languages in the world. Is actually modern. So it was done part of the reason for technology for modern purposes, obviously including technology, as we said, including other things too, like curriculum, schools, for to generalize a kind of language that is actually that's actually old. However, it's debatable how it was in the past. Was it like that in that form? Was it a different form? Whatever form it was, obviously in the modern world, when this modern standard Arabic was created, the Arabic changed a lot. And because it changed a lot, you have different cultures between cities, between out of the cities, suburbs, villages, I don't know, on the coast, in the mountain, whatever, north, south, whatever country you're in, I don't know, whatever region, whatever culture, whatever cult, where you are in the world. There are people in the world that are basically in maybe in China, maybe in North America, maybe in Europe, maybe in Africa, maybe in the Middle East, where they don't have the Arabic language as number one. There are some places like that. So they have other languages, right? Maybe also in Asia, okay, in Eastern Europe, wherever, in Australia. So you have these cultures that have their own Arabic language, and they're very different. They're very different. So I'll give you an example. You have, for example, in Morocco, or in Morocco, it's very different than in Egypt. I live in Cairo, Egypt, and I come from Lebanon. Between the Levant and Egypt, and other countries around, not, you can say regions or cultures around it, it's much more uh, it's much more easier or similar. It's not very similar actually, but it's much more similar than in Morocco for different reasons. Morocco, no, it's very different. Okay, it's very different. It's a very different dialect. And in the Gulf, it's even more than Levant and Egypt. Gulf is actually closer than Morocco, but it's different. Okay, it's different. Um, it's different, and it's very actually It has its own history and it's very rich. Okay, that's important to know. It's actually close to MSA in different things. It differs from area to area. There are cultures that you find are very old, or here I must say is actually the old Arabic. It's in general use today, but this is inaccurate. There is older Arabic, like we said, and excluding abstract holy books like the Quran, or like other holy books that have been used in the past in the Arabic language for different reasons. Or, for example, poetry, old poetry, or old sciences, or whatever. Okay, so this is um, this is one. Okay, another one is old Arabic in general. Okay, old Arabic in general, pre, you can say, I don't know, 1950, 1960, when they started to kind of organize for um, uh, kind of organize for the for kind of not unifying but making it so much easier, grouping, organizing for different purposes. There are many people that want to learn. There are different purposes in the modern world, including the world getting smaller. Besides technology, it's the school curriculums, university, educational curriculums, companies, usage of languages for different purposes, and so on. This all made it media, right? Movies, whatever. Traveling became more frequent. The world became smaller, and so you had to have a kind of translation, bilingual, and so forth, and so on. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why they officially started to group the Arabic language in different forms and categories. And one of them is MSA, Modern Standard Arabic. It's basically a simple kind of Arabic that's used for publishing, that's used for writing, that's used for novels, for movies, and everything else. It's known to be the formal Arabic. Obviously, it's not the old Arabic, like we said, but so it's inaccurate to say it's the old Arabic. Okay, it's formal. It's the formal Arabic. So if you go to a conference, if you have a formal wedding occasion, if you have a funeral, if you have a kind of an episode on TV for you on the media that's formal, if you have a kind of scientific book that's formal, and so on. Okay, if you want to publish a novel and this novel is a classic novel, then you would use this one. Obviously, classic novels from the past, or if you choose to use the language from the past, that's different, but or poetry, or so on. Okay, so and so forth. So this is basically the language that's used. That's MSA, which stands for acronym Modern Standard Arabic. Okay, so this is one. Usually, if you start studying Arabic, you would know the letters, and that's the basis for the Arabic language, and it comes from MSA. Also, some sentence structure, basics of language. You have to know MSA a little bit, or the basics. Okay, and then you move on. Some people choose to do that, especially if they want to read and write. Reading and writing, you need to have the basics of MSA. If only dialect in the sense of conversing, not reading and writing, then you don't have to. Okay, but modern standard Arabic you do for reading and writing. Okay, reading and writing. You can for dialect, but it'd be kind of confusing, and you won't have the strong base if you use the MSA. Okay. Dialect is the second form. This form is used for conversation mainly. There are people that choose to do novels or movies or different kinds of art or using it in technology today, but it's not the formal, it's not the basics. You can get confused, you can get lost. It's better to start from the basic. The basic is MSA. Everything is so much easier. Okay, because sometimes you can have letters that are different things. especially that it's very important when you learn a language to have the base to know and be familiar with the letters of the language. Okay, if you're not familiar with the letters of the language, then um, then you won't then you won't have um, uh, you won't have that kind of strong base than if you use, for example, English letters. It's fine. Today, you can have different sources and resources that use English, especially for dialect and conversation, because usually it's only conversing, it's not reading and writing. But it's very important if you want to have a strong base to have three. Now, you can have a primitive or beginner base of the language, especially Arabic, and from there you build on the dialect and conversing. It depends on your need or your objectives, okay? However, some people choose to do the base. So really, they would have the letters. They would have in the second step, after they know all the letters, they would know to read, write basic sentence structure, sentences, usage, comprehension, and then they would go into conversation. Conversation, then they would use the dialect. Um, Now, sometimes you can take an intensive course or one on one. And as I remind, I'm a private teacher, so I'm still open if you are interested, online or in location Cairo. Or you can go to your nearest kind of nearest institution. Okay, you can go online. There are different things. I have on my LinkedIn profile. I have different links to where I teach. Okay, also here on YouTube, and so you can go and book your session, as well as it's an objective for you to look at these educational platforms if you're interested in general to learn Arabic or other languages there. Anyways, please do look at my LinkedIn profile, and you can also go on the internet on Google, obviously Google, where you can have educational platforms in general, not only Arabic, to learn languages, and or in your location, whatever you prefer, online or in location. As well as I please look at my online and location differences, which is great to know. Anyways, let's go back to here, to studying MSA versus dialect. As I said from the beginning, if to have a strong base, you need to have MSA in the sense of letters and reading and writing and comprehension, the basics of the language, of the Arabic language in particular. And then you build on that the dialect. Okay? Conversing. So it's so much easier, it's clearer, you are more independent as a student in the sense of it makes you a strong student. So you're not dependent on the English, you're not dependent on the book, you become creative, you become independent, you have your own kind of character with the language and interaction, which is very important. When you have English only, it's kind of vague. I know many people would, are not comfortable. Some people, and that's great. That's not wrong. They like to do dialect. Okay, in the sense of only dialect. And as in my experience, that's great. They have their own objectives, maybe time consuming, maybe because of different reasons. They don't like to go into the language, into the MSA, and that's fine. But I would prefer, as a teacher, that the student do, starts with uh, starts with letters, and the reading and comprehension to have their own independent interaction with language. They're not dependent on only English or the textbook, or my sessions or whatever. And then we build on that, and they have their own character, which is very important for the students, so that they are comfortable and they have a nice kind of experience the language, enrich, okay, in that sense. So maybe afterwards they would change their mind, and they would go into they would change their mind and they would go into learning the actual language. They would read poetry, they would read the novels, because Arabic language actually is famous for old poetry and for poetry. So you find it's a rich kind of section in Arabic. Also, maybe they would look at different kinds of, maybe the movies in a different way or whatever. Now, for people that choose only dialect, it's not that bad. Or actually, only dialect, you can actually watch different movies. If you have subtitles, then afterwards, you put on. But like I always emphasize with my students, you are dependent still on the subtitles. If you want to be bilingual, and people have different objectives, then you should start with the base. And this is only a tool for you, the English. Okay, so the English is a tool for you to go into being independent in the Arabic. Now, obviously, no one expects, or you don't expect right away to get that kind of what do you call it? Get that kind of bilingual, right, characteristic. No, it may come easy. Some people like it, but it takes time, and that's fine. But but it obviously it's not like to depend fully on the English, and if you feel like it's gone, if the English is gone. No, you want to have your own independent approach, which is important. Okay, so these notes and tips are very important for you to know if you want to start learning Arabic, or if you're native and you're a teacher and you want to teach or whatever purpose. Let's move on right now to the next part, which is, we talked about what MSA is. We'll now talk about what dialect is more. Dialect is basically the conversation language in any region that use the Arabic language. Different languages differs. In Arabic, like we said, reading and writing is using modern standard Arabic formally, officially. Also conversing, okay, formally and officially. However, informal, reading and writing and conversing is dialect. Okay, now even informal, which is very important in the Arabic region, reading and writing is MSA. You can a little bit change, right, if afterwards you know the language very well, but it's MSA, especially if you're a foreigner, because you don't get lost, and people don't get lost with you. This is really important for organizational purposes. Okay, as well as in the world of Arabic, modern standard Arabic is always used, and it has been simplified greatly. Actually, before it was much more complicated. In what's it called? Now you find in MSA, even because dialect does affect it. It differs from region to region. That's why it's nice to learn dialect, even if you're a MSA kind of person. I won't only want to learn MSA. That's not wrong, but to be flexible and aware of the differences in dialect and the differences in the language, it's better to have a familiarity with one dialect or two. Okay, so you don't expect to be, we're not asking a lot here, right? But just to be familiar, usually the priority is Egypt, because it's like Hollywood or Bollywood. It's very very famous for media and cultural. It's a cultural center and media and public. Also for movies and different things from black and white times. But today you find that there are different cities and regions that have the same characteristics, but it's the oldest and it's the most famous one. So that's important. Okay. Then yes, the most famous one, and it still is. So basically, it still is the center. The second is the Levant, because it differs. Now, sometimes here the second can be the Gulf or Morocco or different regions of the world, because maybe you want to work there, maybe you have, I don't know, whatever reason. Okay, the Levant, because it is very strong and rich in the Arabic language. Okay, and being familiar with dialect makes you actually very strong in it. Cultural wise, it's very actually active in politics, economics, and different things in culture. It's very active in old ancient times. It's very active in history. Okay, it's rich. It's very rich. Okay, so this is important. Iraq is also like that. It's very rich, but Iraq is much more complicated. Levantine is a little bit, it can be more, but it's less, it's easier for foreigners. Okay. Iraq, obviously, it's much richer. However, Iraq is much different, much more different. Okay. So you kind of have to be, aware of the Gulf culture, and you have to be aware of different cultures, basically, to know Iraq. Okay, more. But Iraq is important to know. It is very rich. However, let's say that you're pretty easy and simple, then obviously just Egypt and Levantine culture. If you are part of a culture, then for sure you have to learn Moroccan or that one of the most actually active the most active kind of topics in the Arabic language today, dialect. Dialect is actually learned extensively because of different reasons. One of them is work, another one just tourism, culture, studies, different reasons going back to heritage, their interest of studying and working, interest of career, and so on. Okay, interest history, social sciences, whatever. Okay. So whatever it is, it's actually dialect is and its importance. Let me just give an example. So for today, for example, you are in Egypt, in Cairo, Egypt. I live in Cairo, Egypt, and you have, you want to, you want to learn the dialect because you are working in an international company. You have a 2-year contract. However, the thing is that you are not understanding in day-to-day lifestyle or day-to-day needs in communication or and the other is not understanding you for different reasons. So what you do is you learn the dialect. Okay, so this person or you. Okay, so um, let's say you are have a 2-year contract. You learn the dialect. You choose to do a one-on-one private sessions, maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever. Okay, maybe you want to do it intensive in the sense of every day, and you learn the dialect. Okay, and one-on-one doesn't want to learn MSA, maybe just to be familiar with others, but doesn't want only dialect. So it's purely Egyptian dialect. Okay. From my experience, usually it's intensive, but sometimes they do twice or 3 times in the sense of, they want to in a nice way because they're busy. And usually what happens is that really we use examples, we use tools. There are sessions that are made, okay, in the sense of the sessions are organized in the objective for the person to use the language in day-to-day life for their needs. Okay, so supermarket, to go into the movies, to swimming, to sports, maybe to at work, maybe morning kind of conversation, night conversation, whatever, work conversation, and so on. Okay, so obviously here you have different objectives, and you fulfill it. Okay, this is what's important here, and it's important to know that the uh, the fulfillment and the objectives of the student is a high priority. So if you're a teacher, remember that, so that you're not lost with the student. Remind the student that this and this were your objectives. This is very important. Sometimes they change. Something. I want to learn, I want to learn more maybe about transportation. Okay, great. I'm going on a field trip and I want to know more, and we're traveling maybe, either, the student is in Cairo and they're traveling to Dubai. So guess what? My objective right now, first of all, I want to know more about Dubai. Second of all, I want to know in dialect different things in traveling or tourism or transportation or whatever. Great. So let's see. So you're traveling this day? Yes. So I want after a month, and this month is great. Then you change, okay? Because that's their objective. Then when they come back, you can see, oh, how was it? It was great. I used a lot of things, but it was sometimes, and maybe they explain to you the different stories and miscommunication. And you need to know that you need to give them before self-confidence to use it, and make sure that they know that it's a friendly environment, and because it's touristic, obviously, so they can ask around, and if they have friends or whatever, to use. So you have to give them this confidence to use, and tell them if you feel like it's going out of hand, then leave it alone. But just make sure you can always read the signs, go around, always be active as much as possible with the language, because so you don't lose the chance and lose this opportunity to learn the language and become rich with it. And that's what's important. Okay, and so on. If you're the student, then obviously, yes, you need to feel confident. If you feel that it's kind of getting out of hand, then just leave it and get the most out of it, as much as you want from language, with not falling into any problems or any kind of miscommunication. So that's important. And then it's important for you to go back to your old objectives, so that you're not lost, and the teacher is also not lost, and you can go step by step and build on. So this is what's important. Obviously, you can find that dialect is very important, like the MSA. But the MSA, like we said, it's the base, and that's why it's much better for you as the language to learn it, to build on it. Okay, let's right now go to the next step, which is, right now we know what MSA is and what the dialect is knowing more about characteristics of the dialect, because it's very, very colorful and variant and different in the Arabic region, or the Arabic cultures in the world. You have a lot, and they may be very different, like we said. So, like we said, if you're in Cairo, and you want to go to Morocco, no, it's a different language to that degree. The same thing to Iraq or the Gulf. Okay. However, Iraq and the Gulf is a little bit easier, but it's very different. Okay. So this is an important note to know, that here in the world, Arabic cultures and dialects are very different. Okay, and they are very, very intricate. They're very rich. And what's important is, do you want to study the dialect, or do you want to use it, like use the example, for everyday use? Do you want intensive for whatever objective, or do you want it as a kind of completion of your studies of social science or whatever, or working in a certain company or whatever purpose? So you need to know your purpose clearly, because it makes it so much easier. That's number one. Number two, it's important for you to know, like I said, that there are different dialects. There are many. So you need to know which one you want. And we talked about the important characteristics, that in Cairo, Egypt is the most famous, and the second is Levantine. The other ones are also important, and you can contact me to know more. For sure, I'll make a kind of content, and hopefully I'll do a lot of maybe training workshops in that area, in the sense of I have extensive experience, and I bet if you do, I'd be more than happy for you to contact me, and maybe we can talk about the topic. You can be my guest here. I'll be more than happy. Okay, as well as you have your own content. Great. But what's important here is that if you're a person that wants to do training, that wants to workshop, that wants to learn, please contact me as soon as possible, and don't hesitate and lose time. Okay, which is important. Anyways, the next part is basically for dialect, to know that it's very important. As you can see, the conversation, the usage, the cultural characteristics, the cultural impact, etiquette, the different types of things that's important for you to know, norms. Maybe it's inappropriate to say this word in this dialect, and the other dialect it is. Sometimes you may have in one dialect the word is used highly, in another dialect it's not used because actually maybe inappropriate to use, or a statement or an acronym or whatever. Okay, so this is normal. Also, cultural kind of symbolism, cultural norms, and so forth, tradition, and everything else, which is important for you to know. There are similarities and differences between the dialects, and it's important for you to know these points also. So be aware if you're teaching to teach it, if you're a student or whatever purpose, that there are the cultural factors, the norms, the traditions, and everything else, and there's the differences, as well as uh, to to have certain topics about etiquette or about what is appropriate. Now, you don't want you don't want to have a kind of stigma or opposite kind of lenient in important things. Like, for example, how you would if the student comes to you and tells you as a teacher, I have a formal conference. I want to greet them formally. You won't say, for example, to greet them in the sense of, um, you know, in the sense of only kind of, let's say, what's an, it's used. Hi, okay? It's not very formal, obviously, or just salam, right? It's not very formal. Salam, okay? It's actually informal, okay? Or sabah al khair. Sabah al khair can be formal, but there are better options, obviously. Other options would be, for example, formal. Yeah, so it's a very formal conference. Here, very formal conference. Obviously, you would have to use, formal greeting, which is more, for example, it can be actually a formal greeting can be masa al khair, okay, but a better one it can be, for example, um, formal more, it can be marhaba. Okay, marhaba is formal. Ahlan wa sahlan, and obviously the tone and everything else. Okay, so ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba. Okay, another one if it's more religious or not necessarily religious, but it's very formal in the sense of assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, and a formal tone and very strong. It can be sabah al khair, but formal also and very strong in the sense of in the morning. Um, uh, it can be, there are different, the tone and the word itself. Okay. Now, informal, no. Informal is sabah al khair, sabahu, salam, ازيك, kifik, kifak, whatever. Okay, so you right away jump to how are you, hi. It can be like hi, um, whatever, sabah al khair, masa al khair, or just going to the topic. Yeah, um, in that sense. Um, or لو سمحتي, in the sense of just going to the topic, like I said. So these are important points here. So this is just an example. It's a simple example, actually. Okay. Another one is, for example, maybe you are invited to a wedding, and actually you want to use some Arabic, and so the wedding, you want to do some Arabic, and you just want to know some cultural things. So as a teacher, you would ask the student. As a student, you would make sure the teacher knows that you want the cultural part and dialect, and knows the details about the wedding. So, what culture, is it in the same city? Great. Is it the same dialect we use? Basically, great. Same culture. Okay, great. Then it's easier for the teacher to tell you and help you out more. If it's a different culture, if it's formal, if it's kind of just these details make a difference. Maybe it's the daughter of your boss. Okay, so obviously it'll be different than if it's maybe a close friend, or maybe a relative, or maybe a friend. Okay, does that make sense? So that the teacher can help you out as much as possible, and you're on the right track. So there's no kind of miscommunication or kind of awkwardness, which is really important. I hope that You right now know the difference between modern standard Arabic and dialect, and you have all the tools and all the links to contact me, or if you have anything in particular in the sense of what I talked about here. If you have any other thing, please contact me as soon as possible, as well as my podcast. And if you want to, please subscribe. Yes, and share this video and share my YouTube channel. I'd be more than happy to answer all your questions. Have a great day.